What's going on, Internet? Nerdlocker.com here, back with more comic book reviews, and I'm starting off this week with Green Lantern number 20. This is the finale to Geoff Johns' historic run on Green Lantern. Green Lantern Rebirth, which he wrote, was kind of what got me back into comics, so knowing that this was coming was kind of sad, because, I mean, this was the book and the character that got me back into all of this. This issue has everything. It's just an awesome ending to his story, and it really includes all the elements that he's thrown into this character and all the different characters he's created, and it was just really cool to see everything come full circle and just everyone play a very important role in the ending of all of this. Though he kind of does this ending where he gives everyone their own ending in the future, which is cool. It obviously still might be able to play into continuity for a lot of things, but I kind of just thought that just felt like he was ending it, and whatever we get from now on is somebody else's version of Green Lantern. But either way, I loved this. It's so sad to see him go. Thank you for the awesome stories, Geoff Johns. I'm giving Green Lantern 25 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
This week, I took the opportunity to read Fantastic Four number 8. I haven't read it in a few issues, but if you remember from a few months ago, I said that this was definitely Matt Fraction's book. He is meant to write this title. He's meant to write the Fantastic Family in this way. It's really, really good, and I want to take a moment to mention that I haven't read the last few issues, and I read this one without going back and reading anything, and it was not a problem at all. I did not have an issue catching up or anything, and this issue is full of Yancey Street madness. With all the time travel that the Fantastic Four are going through, Ben took the opportunity on his day of being human again to go back to when he was younger and see Aunt Petunia on Yancey Street and possibly protect some of the family while he's there. So it's a really, really good story, and it really has almost nothing to do with what's currently going on in Fantastic Four. I might have just been lucky that way that I haven't read the last few issues, but the preview for the next issue looks awesome with a lot of Dr. Doom. So I'm going to read the next one too, and Fantastic Four number 8, I'm going to give 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, fools, what's up? Cubby here with my review for Uncanny Avengers number 8, AU, meaning it's an Age of Ultron tie-in, and being that I've been around the block with Marvel big events for at least the last, I don't know, 7 years, 6 years, somewhere around there. It's kind of a cycle, and the tie-ins are usually, oh my god, we gotta put this in there, and we gotta fit it there, and this is different. This feels a lot different. It feels more organic, more like we're gonna do this awesome story in Uncanny Avengers, and we're gonna find a way to tie it in. And I don't know how all the other ones are gonna do, but I feel Uncanny Avengers just happens to be one special book that they're able to do it in really well, being that they're dealing with a Kang the Conqueror storyline, and all that stuff is really exciting and crazy, and this is like still exciting and crazy. Oh, whoa, there's a lot of stuff going on. But at the same time, like if you're reading it and you wanted more of what was actually going on in the main story, it doesn't feel like you're getting robbed right now. It feels like it's the perfect time to throw this in there, give it a little break, give it a little like, you see what the bad guys are doing, and you see how they're accomplishing their goals in trying to actually beat the Uncanny Avengers and exploiting this whole thing. It's really awesome. It's really great. You get a lot more backstory into the actual Age of Ultron. So if you're really, really digging that like I am, you kind of find out some stuff. There's some things that were confirmed pretty much already. Those are kind of like ironed out, so you know who exactly is who. But a lot of the minor story details that you wouldn't normally get in Age of Ultron because they couldn't put it in there, you get it here. And I love that. It just makes the mythology that Marvel is building, that Marvel has built, that much richer. And I appreciate Rick Remender for it 110%. I love you, man. You're awesome. I'm gonna give this 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. It's still probably the best book Marvel's putting out right now. So everyone read this.
Hey fellow nerds, Jasper here with my review of Justice League issue 20. It's interesting about this book is the fact that they focus on the lesser known characters. They focus on Element Girl, Firestorm, and Atom as they harrowingly battle Despero on the Justice League Watchtower nonetheless. So it's really cool because they really focus on these characters and what they can do. They really obviously like push really more on Element Girl's like profile. And overall, they give a a unique introduction and better understanding of what these characters are, or at least who these characters are. More or less is the return of a specific mainstream character that hasn't been around in quite a while. So I really enjoyed it. They really, at the very end, kind of show a surprise on Adam's, character or deceiving plotline of Adam, should I say. But it's definitely a issue you should check out. I'm giving this a 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, next up I got Superior Spider-Man number 10. Last issue, we had the end of Peter Parker. He got him out of his brain. There's nothing left of him. And that made me start this book with kind of a heavy heart. I mean, since the first issue and we saw Peter Parker and we saw him still there was that little glimmer of hope that we were still going to get Peter back. And I felt like they were building that, but Doc Ock cut it off quickly, and this is him being him alone in this new body, doing what he wants, the way he wants to do it. Everyone is kind of noticing that Peter hasn't been himself lately, or obviously, but Mary Jane in this issue really picks up on that for the first time. There's a lot of investigation to his whole thing with Massacre, where he shot and killed Massacre, and it looks like the cops are even starting to notice now that something's up with him. They show the big reveal of this villain that was kind of teased, but now we get to see him in full force and what he's planning and what he's doing. I still, like I said, still kind of like bummed that Peter's not around. There's a little part that makes you think he might be somewhere, but I don't know what I'm getting into with this now. I want to see where this goes. I want to see how long they plan to do this, or if it's permanent, or what's going on. I'm going to give this book 4 to 5 Nerd Skulls. Let me know what you guys thought.
So I just got a chance to read The Bounce #1 by Joe Casey and David Messina, and I want to say first and foremost, the artwork was pretty damn good. It pulled me in right away, and then the story came along and made it fun right away. So that was really a really good opening scene, but it slows down immensely right about the halfway point in the book, and it starts getting really confusing. They stop showing the main character, obviously The Bounce. Even though his way of getting around is really funny, it kind of works out in that first half of the book. Again, in the second half, they don't show him as much, so it's really a lot of talking and a lot of stuff that you really just don't know about. And it's clear that they're setting you up for the second issue, but it seems like it was definitely their meaning to confuse you in the first. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls because I'm going to check out a second one, so check it out.
Hey guys, Cubby here with my review for Avengers number 12. Man, this book is awesome. I've been saying that since pretty much day one. It's been one of my favorite Avengers titles in the last recent years. Definitely, it needed a little bit of new blood on the book, definitely. Brian Michael Bendis is a fabulous writer. He's done some amazing things in Avengers. Actually, pretty much made me love the team, made me love my favorite character of all time. So I owe everything about liking this team to him. But Jonathan Hickman's been able to really take, with about a year's worth of stories, and make like an Avengers that you kind of feel you've known forever. You feel like they've been around this Marvel Universe for the longest time, but they're completely taking a new approach. And yeah, it's actually kind of stuff that's already happened in the past, trying to build an Avengers that's so big and massive that nothing can ever really beat it. And that's pretty much the Avengers as it is before this, but this just gives it more depth. I mean, he gives these characters different feelings and emotions, and you feel harder for them. I feel the emotions come through more in this book, definitely. This particular issue, it kind of takes a little break from all the crazy action and storytelling that has been going on. A lot of the concepts and things that have been coming up are kind of showed in here, and there's a little test and challenge between Hyperion and Thor, which is really, really awesome. Clint Barton and Jessica Jones have actually a couple really great scenes, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a freak for Hawkeye. He actually does a really good job with these characters. It's totally in character what they are, how they act, how they do things, and then at the end of it, it's like, oh yeah, he totally would have done that too. Still in his bathing suit. Hell yeah. I don't know. This book is just awesome. I really enjoy it. This particular issue is just really great in terms of having you feel danger, but also laughing at the same time, and having you want like these characters to kind of wake up and see like, oh my God, there's something going down, but you know things are going to happen good in the end. Definitely giving this 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. It definitely deserves it. the whole series has been awesome, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us next.
Hey fellow nerds, Jasper here again with my review of Aquaman issue 20. This is such a great book because they don't really focus on Aquaman himself as a character, but they focus on the group, the Others, as they end up fighting a newer villain, in a sense, called the Skinwalker. And what it is they end up heading down to the Arizona Canyon Desert as the Skinwalker is trying to enter the whole Ghostlands to rise a army up. And what's great about it is the fact that Geoff Johns really did a good job really focusing on each character and kind of bringing them out more and showing them who they really are as a individual, not necessarily as a group, but then ties it all in because they work in unison as a group. So it's really, really great, and I definitely recommend check this out as well. I'm giving this issue a 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
I got to read All-Star Western number 20 this week, and honestly, with Booster Gold being in the book now, I feel like more of the focus is coming off of Jonah Hex and onto Booster Gold, because he doesn't belong there. I know if you read Justice League International, he kind of disappeared in time, and this is where he ended up. He doesn't have all of his memories. He's kind of fuzzy on the whys and the hows of how where he is and how he got there, but he knows this isn't his time. But either way, I think this is going to be a big book coming up. I feel like you've thrown Booster Gold in here for a reason, and I know they've talked about in a couple issues Jonah Hex coming to modern times, Gotham, which I'm interested to see with the Justice League and everything else. But I feel like I feel like something big is going to be happening in this book, and if you're liking DC right now, I would start picking this up because, like I said, I have a feeling about this, and I would just keep reading this. You don't want to miss it. I'm giving this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Nowhere Men number 5 came out this week. You know I had to talk about this book. It's one of my favorite Image titles going on right now. The art is fantastic. The story is so great. It reads just like a movie in so many ways, and science is indeed the new rock and roll in this issue especially. They give a little bit of background about the character Emerson, which I for one have been dying to learn more about that character. We also learn a little bit more about the space crew and their new abilities, each one different. I want to read the end of this title so bad. It's just one of those stories that you kind of would feel guilty but still want to skip to the last page and know what's going on. I refrained from doing that because it's really not going to get me anywhere at a single issue pace, but once this comes out in graphic novel, everybody should really pick it up. But if you have the patience, go back and get the issues because it's fantastic. Plus, it is a collector's item at this point. They're going like hotcakes on eBay right now. I think hotcakes are really expensive on eBay right now, so I'm just going to make that assumption. Check out this book. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls, as always.
Hey there guys, Cubby here with my comic reviews this week. I got to read Wolves of Summer number 1 and 2 by Tony Keaton and Andrew Herbst, and I gotta say this was a book that really, really captivated me. It reminded me of a Darwin Cook-esque, independent, like minimal storytelling devices, but they're really powerful and they're really like there, and you feel them, and they carry a lot of story through it. And that's just the use of like imaginative use of sound effects and things like panels and the way characters react and do things, and you expect something from a story reading copies of it or things that are very similar to it, and that's what I went into this expecting. I'm gonna know exactly what's gonna happen, and it caught me off guard a lot of the times, and it's something that's really fresh in a new book because truthfully at this day and age you really can't do anything original, and this book was very original. It's about a group of kids living in 1945 Germany who are actually part of a group called the Werewolves, who are pretty much teenage terrorists working for Nazis, like they're teenage Nazi terrorists. It's ridiculous. And it's kind of poignant in this time and age. There's a lot of problems with that in the world, and this is kind of like something that happened a long time ago, and it's these kids that some of them don't really know what they're doing. So they've been brought up to think that they're doing something that's completely right and completely like true and just and great, and it's not. And some of them kind of see it. Some of them are a little power hungry and they're getting a little like wrapped up in that. Some of them see that these dudes are crazy and this is crazy and we should not be doing this at all. And that's really nice and refreshing. It's a really great character story. I really liked what they did with it, especially because one of the characters, you don't know who, it's kind of hinted at in the second one. I'm not going to give it away, but there's an older person in the story, and it actually takes place in the future of the 1945 timeline. I don't know, it's like 70s or 80s, New York, something like that. And it's one of the older kids, and just the stuff that he goes through, just living in a bar, or living in New York, going to a bar, kind of being terrorized by these kids that are just trying to be assholes to adults, to older people. And he pretty much just puts them in their place. And it's a really badass scene, and it's really awesome. And you don't think it's gonna happen. And there's times when you're like, oh my God, no, he's gonna get knocked down. And he's a tough old man, and it's really cool. But you should totally read this. It was an amazing book. Really, really got me, really pulled me in. I really wanna read more. If you like Darwin Cook, if you like Becky Cloonan, if you like certain offbeat artists that can put a lot of story and emotion into their characters, this is exactly where you want to go. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. It deserves every single one. Haters gonna hate. This book's awesome.
Hey gang, Jasper here with my review of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Baxter Stockman. I really enjoyed this book because they focused on Baxter Stockman, but yet again, this is a standalone issue. But what really brought me to this book was the fact that they really show what Baxter Stockman, or at least how he became who he became. He apparently had father issues, which was very interesting enough because his father was very hard on him and really wanted him to do his best, and was really kind of the, bad father, or at least the tough father that, you kind of see like in a sense of like Darth Vader or, any other mainstream character that, was a badass, but at the same time a hard ass on their kids. But I really enjoyed it due to the fact that they showed Baxter Stockman working on the Technodrome for Krang, and you see the after effects of how he really plans and conjures up, ways of becoming the maniacal scientist that he is. Due to the influences of his father, or at least the after effects of his father, you see that he really, as a character, wants to be on his own. He doesn't like taking, orders from Krang. He wants to be the main villain. So he does that in a way, and they really show, different parts and bits of him, and centerpiece his overall mannerisms and, who he is as a character. And as a throwback to the actual cartoon, where he mutagenically transforms into a fly, he ends up creating a super enhanced fly creature to help him out, which is kind of the main focal point of the book itself. But overall, I'm giving Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Baxter Stockman a 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, I got to read Lobster Johnson. First of all, this is one of my favorite characters from the BPRD universe, and I've said it before, I love that he just gets these little one-shots because it's a contained story, and I get my fix until the next one. And this one is just as cool as everything else I've read. It's Lobster Johnson. He finds these bodies in the sewer, finds a guy responsible, kind of toys with him a little bit, which was kind of creepy, but a lot of fun to read. And you find out who this guy is working for and the kind of sick plan behind everything. And when you find out what's going on, you're kind of a little bummed because you feel for this character for a minute and his struggle that he's gone through and just why they were doing the things, or it doesn't make it right. Obviously, Lobster Johnson does not care about anything or anyone because he just cares about justice. This is an awesome one-shot. I love Lobster Johnson. Can't wait to see more of it. I want to give this one 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls, so I will.
Another number one this week with Half Past Danger by Stephen Mooney. I want to take a second to talk about him. He actually created, wrote, and drew this book, and it came together perfectly in this title, so you got to give him a lot of credit. The artwork was fantastic. The story moved along very perfectly, and it takes place in 2 different time spans. First, it's a group of military personnel that are in the jungle, and they come across a raptor and a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and they have to fight them off, and then boom, it skips you to 2 months later, and one of those soldiers is back in the city, and he's drinking a lot. Obviously, it's affected him. They don't really touch on where the dinosaurs came from. It's set in 1942, so why are they there? What was interesting about it was that nobody knew what a dinosaur looked like back then, so they actually played that out in this book. They didn't know what it was. It was just a big lizard to them, and it was a really good title. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls because everybody should check it out. Half Past Danger #1.
All right, guys, so I got to read Kiss Solo, number 3, and guess what? It's all about the Celestial, or in other words, what Ace Frehley was and some other guy is in the place of now. Anyways, Kiss is a really awesome band in my opinion. I freaking love them. I think they're awesome. They're simple, they're great, they're a good time, and their stories, being that they've had a million comic books put out, are pretty entertaining for the most part. You know, they develop characters and oh my god, it's crazy. Reviewed them before for Nerdlocker, and they're not wholly terrible. They're really cheesy, and this one was especially cheesy. But it was still a pretty fun sci-fi story. Like if you took out the fact that Kiss happens to be a multi-million album selling band, and they're huge, and they're the greatest thing in rock and roll, and all that stuff, you'd probably be like, oh man, this is actually a pretty decent independent comic book. So you can take that to heart and go check it out because it's actually pretty decent. Kind of dumb, but pretty decent. So I'm gonna give this 3 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Could have been better, of course, but definitely a good trip.